That's
Before
cool.
we end this, I was thinking, your channel is very, very professional and it's very much about fragrances.
Yeah.
So I feel like people might not know you as a person too well.
Right.
So I would love you to tell everyone one thing about you that they may not know.
Okay, I'll tell you something.
God.
My toenails are painted purple right now.
No way!
Really?
Yeah.
Now that's a surprise.
And I will show you guys off camera
It
and I'll
didn't
prove
happen
it to you.
unless we get it on camera.
Okay, maybe we should, right?
Yeah.
I don't know
That
if you
could
want
be
to.
a fun.
We can
we
do
can edit that
We
in. We can.
just edit
Okay.
that in,
If
yeah.
you-
If you
Yeah,
want.
if
please.
you
Let's
don't
take a
mind.
picture
Do
of
you
it.
want to
Can you
tell us
explain
how that happened?
why? Hello everyone, welcome back. So it's another a very special episode of Frag Chat with me, Smelly, her,
Smurfy.
and
Stephen from Redolessence.
the man who needs little introduction, the legend, Stephen from
please.
Redolessence. And our first chance to meet you, which is so exciting and, you know, surreal, as they
Oh
always
my God,
say.
it's my
just
pleasure,
strange,
of
isn't
course.
it? Because you're just you're a picture on my laptop screen or my phone screen, and
Yeah.
here you are in glorious
That's great.
3D.
And he's real, people.
Yep.
I am.
He
I am.
exists.
You can touch him. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, and we're here in a very plush London hotel at an undisclosed location, and we've got lots of exciting things to talk about. And I think the main reason you're over here is to do with your new range of fragrances, the new brand Navitus.
Yes.
But we're
Yeah.
also going to find out a bit about you in general, because I'm sure we've got a few questions that we'd love to ask, and I think people
please
at
ask
home.
away.
Yeah. So. Well, let's just kick off with how you've been doing, and you just did a flying visit to London, right?
I did, yes. So
Yeah.
I actually, I knew I wanted to come to London for a long time. I actually came from Turkey, and so I had a really productive meeting there. I've only been to London twice. But the first time, like I said off camera, I never had a chance to leave the airport. And so there's a lot of sightseeing to do, a lot of really landmark locations that I wanted to visit.
Right.
And so I figured today would give me that opportunity, but it's quite a rainy day, and I hear it rains
It's
a lot here.
awful. Yeah, I'm afraid so. This is a bad I mean, yeah, this is a bad day, but unfortunately, weather
It's
in
all right,
it's
though.
not the nicest. Yeah, but you've really got the typical grim English weather. I'm
If
afraid.
you'd come
yeah.
yesterday was amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it varies.
Bad luck, yeah.
it does vary. It's actually Storm Derek, they're calling it. There's a mini storm.
I know,
Yeah.
I hear.
So,
I hope
but-
you guys don't get hit too hard.
yeah, thanks.
Should be okay.
We'll make it home, I think.
Yeah.
So, well, we definitely want to find out a little bit more about you generally, but let's kick off with the Navitus
Okay,
stuff, because
sure.
we were very privileged to be sent the Discovery set, which we tried out on
It's
our
my
channel.
pleasure.
And thank you very much for that. And we've got the full line up here of what you've got at the moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when did the brand launch exactly? I know.
So it launched in November of 2019.
Okay.
It's something that's been in the works for a really long time.
Yeah.
And, I thought about making videos to like generate a little bit of hype about the brand,
Mhm.
but I didn't want to make it disingenuine, and I
Mm.
didn't want to spend so much time talking about a product that was nowhere near being released.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I figured, okay, right around September, October is when I started talking about it.
Yeah.
And November was the official launch.
I noticed that. Yeah, that it was very soon after
Yeah.
you mentioned it that it was
There
ready.
it
But
was,
obviously,
yeah.
huge things were going on in the background to
Oh
make
yeah,
that happen.
of course, it takes a
But, I mean,
long time.
and we can see the presentation is very, very spectacular and very,
Thank you.
very plush indeed. And I mean, just before we get into the fragrances themselves, so what was it? At what point did you think I'd like to have my own brand?
I think it was something that I was entertaining maybe 2 or 3 years after I started my channel.
Right.
And I thought it would always be a dream to have a brand.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. And I said, as opposed to, me doing every single thing, maybe I can just have like a creative director role.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a pleasure to do that with this brand.
Yeah.
It is my brand, obviously,
Mhm.
but it just having that opportunity to write the briefs and convey what I want the fragrances to smell
Mhm.
like and come up with the names and just know that it's my vision and I'm able to execute it 100% has been nothing short of a pleasure. And but it's something that's been in the works now for almost 2 years, like
Right.
a year and 9 months.
Wow. Yeah.
Your
And
baby.
it takes
It
that
is,
long,
yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, and so I mean, so what was your sort of how much input did you have into what went on? Because as you say, like it's not like you had to go and order all the bottles. Like, I'm the same with my little release that I've done. I don't really enjoy getting too heavily into all that, but I think as far as the actual ideas of the smells, you were very much involved. But how did that? Because I mean, you've got some big name perfumers. Maybe you could remind us. I mean,
so the three perfumers are Bertrand Duchaufour, Jorge Lee, and Christian Carbonell.
Right.
And they are in France, Turkey, and Spain, respectively.
Yeah.
And so in terms of my involvement in the brand, I pretty much did everything except for fund the brand.
Right.
And so I knew that if I were to take my own approach, I would probably have to work with an indie perfumer, just because it's something that I'd be doing on a much smaller scale. And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No,
I wouldn't mind doing that. But I knew very early on Bertrand was one of my favorite perfumers, and he's done like Jubilation 25, and the list can go on for days.
Oh,
but,
exactly.
So I knew I wanted to work with these guys.
Right.
Super exciting.
Fantastic. And did you kind of just you gave them the brief of what the fragrance should be like, and you guys just kind of went back and forth a bit until you've agreed on the kind of notes you wanted, and that's how it worked? Obviously collaborative. It was a collaborative effort with the perfumer.
Oh, for sure. I never really spoke about notes, though.
Oh, okay.
So I might have given like certain very vague directions in terms of where to go with the fragrances.
Right.
And then after smelling it, that's when I was able to say, okay, I want this one to be not as sweet, or I want this one to be a little more woodsy, or not have as much ambroxan, which some of them did. But from that standpoint, the tweaks were minor. There were tweaks made nonetheless, but it was a relatively easy process. It's just time consuming, and obviously a lot of it is being able to spend time with the fragrances, put them on skin, wear them for a good amount of time to be sure that that's the change that you want to make, because then you're going to use up your time and the perfumer's time to make changes that might not necessarily be heading in the right direction.
And all the while you're doing that, you're still doing your channel and you're still reviewing other fragrances. So I know what that's like, is you giving your time to smelling your fragrance, but still feeling that you need to be putting out content, which is difficult, isn't it?
It's quite overwhelming, and I still have my full-time job, and I'm still trying to be a father and a husband.
Trying to be.
I hope I'm doing a good job.
I'm sure you are.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's tough, isn't it? Because because we were wondering actually, with all this, how do you manage to? But you still are doing your full-time job, and you've got a wife and a young it's a young son.
Boy,
It's a girl.
A girl, sorry. So I mean, incredible. You must have very little free time at the moment.
Well,
you must
the
be
things,
exhausted.
I do have little time. I'm actually fortunate because there is a team that also works on this. It's like a 20-person team.
Oh, really?
So we have like customer service and like the people who do the art design and stuff like that.
Right.
Obviously, I have to shortlist and sign off on everything, but the things that I do are the ones that I'm capable of doing given my geographic availability. And so like now I'm here, so I'll be able to meet up with some of the perfumers in the area, but when I'm back in New Jersey or New York, as people like to say, I'm visiting like the fulfillment center, picking stuff up. Like I picked up all the Discovery sets that I brought with me here, so it's like taking these 2-hour trips into New York. It's not fun.
I bet. God, and how you do that and still mark all the homework and stuff. I mean, it's incredible, absolutely incredible. So let's talk about the smells. So me and Claire had a real good go at them last night.
Yes.
It's somewhat relaxed live stream.
Thank you.
So
I loved it.
We remember most of what happened, but we really enjoyed a few of them. But there's a real,
It's a
don't
good
you think,
mix
a
of
huge
different-
array of different stuff, Claire?
I'd like to know what your favourite is. Don't worry about upsetting your perfumer. What would you say is the one that you would reach for the most?
Okay, so that's easy. Novice.
Okay,
Yeah, I definitely reach for Novice the most, just because I find it to be the most versatile. I know Primus is rather versatile as well. Shall we spray it?
Yes,
I mean,
let's.
if we want to. Okay, it's the first one, right?
Are they it's the right bottle
here
in
it
front
is.
of the right box,
Yes. Okay. I tried to be as organized as possible.
Navitus is actually my scent of the day, so it's
thank
the
you.
one that leapt out as the one I most obviously
Very you, thank
loved.
you.
Very citrusy. Thank you.
And it was
Thank you very much.
wafting really well on the train.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah.
To me, it smells. Is it mandarin in here?
Yeah, there is a little bit of mandarin, so there's like 4 different citrus notes.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, obviously, there's a lot of aroma chemicals involved too, like linalool and citral,
Yeah.
and
Is
you
that
know
to
that's kind of found in
extend
all
the
fragrances.
life of the citrus, because I'm finding that it's really lasted very well.
Oh,
The
okay.
citrus element, which normally doesn't hang around too long, does it?
Yeah, no, it doesn't. So there's a lot of like grapefruit, bergamot. There's a little
Yeah.
bit of mandarin, as you stated as well. For me, whenever I smell this, I'm always reminded of like a vetiver cedarwood combination
Okay.
that kind of plays through. And it's not
Yes,
listed as a
yes.
note, but there's also a little bit of mint in here as well.
Okay.
Kind of brightens up the fragrance.
I love a bit of mint in a citrusy fragrance because I love Xerjoff Renaissance. It has a little
Oh,
twist,
yeah, yeah,
a very
yeah.
natural citrus, and there's just that subtle twist that the mint gives. So maybe that's.
And I actually see a similarity between that one and this.
Yeah.
It's the same perfumer. But
Is
yeah.
it? Oh
Yeah.
wow. Okay. Yeah.
Now you say vetiver, it's kind of reminding me like, what's the cologne in the green bottle?
Mugler cologne.
Oh,
Kind
Mugler
of,
cologne.
it's
Ah.
giving me that
Yeah,
vibe.
yeah.
But it's a much
I think-
more vibrant citrus,
Mhm.
like a more punchy citrus.
Yeah.
But it has that kind of calming, clean,
Yes.
woodsy undertone.
Yeah.
And I think that's, yeah, very well said. And that's kind of what I was going for. I really just wanted a very bright, energetic, citrusy
Yeah.
fragrance.
Yeah.
And so the name Navitus translates to energy.
Oh,
Ah.
okay.
And so
yeah.
I wanted it to just be something very easygoing, very mass appealing, something that people can go on
That's-
if they want
yeah,
to tackle
it's-
something
yeah.
within their day. They don't really have to give it too much thought. You know? It's very easy to wear.
Exceedingly versatile.
Yeah, definitely.
Completely unisex. Probably a spring summer fragrance, but I'm wearing it on a miserable rainy day because it brightens me up. It
seems
cheers
to
me up
have
a bit. You know.
It's got it
Yeah.
carries and it's doing
Yeah.
well on this cold
I do
rainy
like that one,
day.
Yeah, and you mentioned it's the same perfume as who's the perfume for this one?
So Chris Carbonell, he
right.
does operate under a pseudonym, Chris Maurice.
Oh,
It's the same
now
person.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Right. Yeah. Yeah. A very well-known name. Okay.
Oh, yeah, for
Right.
sure.
Okay.
He's done a lot.
All right.
So you said Primus is in the same sort of versatile ballpark. So should we try that one?
Yes, let's do that.
Yeah.
So yes, I do find this to be rather versatile as well. I suppose the only component of it that might, I don't want to use the term scare some people away, but it might not be the most agreeable, is the base, which can come across rather green and woody.
Okay.
And it does have sort of like a traditional chypre element, but it's not overly green. I feel like there's more of like an earthy, soily undertone.
This smells more like Dan's kind of thing to me. I could be wrong, but to me it's very green,
Yeah.
fresh, woody.
The other one you would say out and out citrus. There's
Yeah.
other things going on, but it's really citrusy. This there's a lot of citrus, but there's a little greenness,
It's almost like
woodiness.
your green Irish tweeds and your Bois de Portugal, like those kind of
Mhm. You
green,
think-
woodsy type thing. Not saying it's that similar, but it's ballpark.
Can
Yeah.
you recall? I don't expect you to have encyclopedic knowledge of all the notes, but
I
can
bet
you
you
recall
do,
any?
though.
I bet he does. Do you remember any of the notes that you might want to highlight in this one?
Okay, sure. So there is ambroxan in
Okay.
this one,
Oh,
so
yeah,
you
you
might
get
be
that.
getting
Yeah,
a little
yeah,
bit
yeah.
of that in the opening as well.
Mhm.
There's a tart green opening to citrusy opening to it. There's also grapefruit and green mango, and so it has kind of like a bitter fruity.
Yes.
It's not overly fruity. It's not lush. It's not ripe. It's a little bit more on the bitter side. And then as it dries down, you do have a little bit of that sort of oak moss, palisander rosewood base.
Okay.
And I personally pick up, so there's patchouli in here as well.
Yeah.
And I was actually speaking to the perfumer yesterday, and I said, is there a little bit of like a soil tincture note in here?
Right.
And he said it's actually the patchouli that's giving off that effect.
Bit of
Okay.
earthiness.
You know what I would call this one of the whole line is your signature scent for a man, masculine, modern,
Mature.
fresh.
Cool.
I think.
You think mature?
I
Okay,
think mature.
all right.
Yeah.
I would say this is your kind of right in the middle of the line. Almost, if I was the sales assistant and a man came in,
Okay.
this is my first one. I might say this is like likely to be really pleasing to the average person.
Do you think it's
Fresh.
easier to recommend than Novice?
some people, I think maybe if it's really nice and just citrusy, they want something a little bit more with this kind of woody, the ambrox, and they'll find this a little bit more familiar, maybe.
Yeah,
But that's just
I think so.
who knows.
But the thing with this is it's not following that trend of being sweet, clubbing zen. It doesn't have any of those sugary notes at all.
Right.
So that's why I feel it's a little bit more for a more mature man, only because it will be more like the fragrances he remembers as masculine, whereas in nowadays younger men are wearing things with candy floss notes and
Sure,
whatnot,
absolutely.
and fruity things, and this to me is more grounded and just not that sweet.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you. And there is one fragrance that has a sweet nuance to it.
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of sweetness, maybe now you'll
Come
lead
on.
us to the
Shall we?
the sweeter end of things. Yeah.
Give us the candy.
All right, let's do that. So let's speak about Intimus. So this one is, obviously the name translates to intimate.
Yeah.
And so it does have a lot of sweet notes in here. It has apple, it has vanilla, it has like a toasted sugar accord. And it's actually one of the ones that I fell in love with right away, like as soon as I smelled it. And there's just something very agreeable about
Thank
this
you.
one. You're welcome. I think it comes across rather romantic. The Latin tagline that I associated with this one is Amor vincit omnia, which means love conquers all.
Oh.
And so I kind of wanted people to have that I know yesterday you did the video,
Yeah.
and you saw that I think Navitus says carpe diem,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, they've got little
Yeah,
things.
so
on them.
each
Yeah,
one
yeah.
has its own Latin quote associated with it.
Right.
Why don't I remember that?
And are those, because I saw it written somewhere, the Carpe Diem. It's a little card, isn't it?
It's
in
a
the
little
box?
card on the
Yeah,
inside,
okay,
yes.
Right.
Yes.
That's a nice idea, yeah.
Thank you.
This definitely has ethyl maltol, doesn't it? It's the,
Yeah, it
the
does.
candy floss
Yeah.
note.
Yeah, that's a good nose.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it definitely has the ethyl maltol. I'm not sure what other sugary
Which is
notes are
why,
in
is
here,
this the
but
one that people were comparing to Baccarat Rouge?
no, this is the
No, is
one
it?
that people said has a similarity to Ultramall by
Right.
Jean-Paul Gaultier.
Mm.
Ultramall to me has that really bright, noticeable pear note,
Oh,
Right.
that's
and I
good.
don't get any pear in this.
Yeah, definitely one that's going to appeal to people who like some of the more youthful, sweet things.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've mentioned that some people say it's a bit like La Mal. Obviously, I think when you release a line of fragrances, people are going to naturally, as we're doing, compare them to something. How do you feel about that? Like, do you, if people say, "Oh, this one's the one that's a bit like Baccarat Rouge," I mean, obviously, that's a compliment in a way, but they're unique too.
Yeah,
How do
sure.
you feel about that?
I suppose I don't mind. I think as a reviewer, and I'm guilty as charged of doing this as well, a lot of times to help people understand what a fragrance smells like,
Yeah.
you have to inevitably compare it to something else.
Yeah.
And so I might find myself saying this is like 70% like Baccarat Rouge, but imagine it without this note or that note.
Yeah.
And so it's something that we do, and I think it's a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah, certainly.
All right, that's good. Yeah, because it's difficult, isn't it, to describe
Yeah.
things without something you naturally want to. I couldn't help but think, oh, that's a bit like Renaissance. So
Yeah.
I think those comparisons are all good.
Awesome.
All right, is anyone you would like to go to next?
You know what? Yeah, let's do Absolutio.
Okay.
And so the name of this one translates to mercy or perfection.
Oh.
And, this is one of those fragrances where I smelled it initially and I said, this is one of my favorites.
Right.
And I found it to be perfect, but I still wanted to make some tweaks.
Right.
And so I made like 6 or 7 tweaks but I inevitably went back to the first one that the
off
perfumer
and the
pitched
way.
us.
Funny,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
and
it was
Right.
perfect to start with.
yes.
Yeah.
And it actually contains a lot of my favorite notes, and I was going for a more gourmand feel.
Right. I'll
And
just show the bottles off
Yeah.
because we've got a wide shot, but I'll just show that what I really like is the squares on the top of the lid. That effect you've got is
Yeah.
really unique. I just
Thank
wanted
you.
to show that off.
I love
Okay.
the almond in here.
yeah,
That
May I?
definitely gets
here you
me.
are.
Like,
Yes, of course.
I really
Oh,
enjoy
yeah.
that.
Yeah, and for me, it has like a cherry vibe
Mm.
that it comes across rather prominently.
It's
Oh, yeah.
almost aniseedic, so it's almost
Mm.
it's something's not exactly medicinal, but like aniseed,
Yep.
star anise, something
Mm.
like that. It's licorice.
I can totally see that.
Mm.
Yeah, and it does have a lot of spices in it. There is saffron in here. Not to say that saffron will give it an anise smell,
No.
but I do enjoy this one a lot. Yeah.
Would you this feels like perhaps the closest to being a gourmand.
I
in
think
that
so.
ballpark a little bit.
Yeah,
I'd call it gourmand.
Yeah.
I would too. You know, I think from a literal standpoint, it is because
Mm.
it has a lot of edible ingredients. If you think about like the
yeah, I think even a lay person not massively into perfumes might say I can smell almonds in
Yeah.
this one, which that to me makes it a bit of a foodie
Oh, yeah.
smell.
But I
Absolutely.
can feel the woodsy note. I'm guessing there's some woodsy notes in here that are starting to come up and cut through the sweetness.
yes, yes,
Mm.
absolutely. So there is also a little bit of rosewood in the base. There's
Mm.
ambergris. There's oak moss. But there's also like that caramel toffee thing going on with the
Okay.
apple,
Yeah.
and so, and vanilla as well.
Mm.
So I was going for something a little bit sweeter than this,
Mm-hmm.
but when I smelled it, I said, you know what, it's good, it's
Yeah.
perfect.
Mm.
We
Yeah.
need to go with this.
This is good. Yeah.
It
Yes.
is good.
Yeah.
I can't. It's not really your ballpark of what you normally wear, but you do sometimes wear
Yeah.
quite sweet fragrances.
Well, I
So-
have a slight quirk that,
Yeah.
apart from my old school stuff, sometimes I actually really like an out and out, really like I
Like
love.
you'll wear Naxos.
Yeah.
Quite
Mm.
often.
I actually have a
yeah.
strange affection for Mukalat by
Yes.
Montel, which
Oh,
is very
that's a great one.
ridiculously sweet. So I really think that's lovely. Yeah,
So I
think
can
it's
see
beautiful.
you
Yeah.
wearing that.
Yeah, I would.
I love the spiciness of it. I think that's really lovely with the sweetness.
Mm.
I think that's what really sets it apart and
Mm.
gives it its own identity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a real banger. Yeah, I can see
Mm.
that.
Thank you.
People, that's got a wow factor.
I can see that
yeah.
being like people putting that as a clubbing scent. You
Yeah.
know, top 10 clubbing scents. That's
Sure,
going to be
sure.
the one, isn't it?
Wow.
Yeah,
Thank
I think
you.
so. Yeah.
And it
That's
doesn't
a big
feel
compliment.
like it leans particularly female or male, even though it's quite sweet. I can see then there be no distinction.
Right. Yeah.
As long as
Agreed.
you like sweet scents, you're going to like that, aren't you? Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
I had one question actually because I wondered the concentration because are they eau de parfum?
I went with Parfum. It's
Ah.
difficult. I could have gone with Extrait de Parfum because they're all 25%. And so
That's
it's
strong. That's
yeah,
very
it's
strong.
quite strong.
Right.
Mm.
Several people have advised me against that. They
In
said
terms
go
of the
down to
descrip-
like 18 or 20 or something like
Oh
that.
right.
Just, you could save potentially a lot of money.
Oh right.
But I did want to go with something that lasted a long time, something that was powerful, really
Yeah.
get your money's worth. And so
That's a
just
very
a couple of sprays will.
That's very strong concentration. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that's high. So that's
Yeah.
that's really good because the
Thank you.
longevity is going to be pretty stellar. With that kind of concentration. So okay. So that would be called parfum concentration.
I would call it parfum, yeah.
It's not clear, is it? At what point it
No.
becomes
It's
It's
extract?
not really a law on it.
You know,
No, yeah.
different
is there?
brands, I think they
Mm.
create their own distinction,
Yeah.
right? And
But,
so
yeah.
some brands would have something that's like 20% and they'll call it an eau de parfum,
Mm.
whereas another brand might call it an extrait de parfum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it really all depends on the brand.
Definitely strong though. Okay. Which for most of our viewers is a definite good thing.
So you
Yeah.
know when I walked downstairs, well you wouldn't know when I walked downstairs this morning, but when I walked downstairs this morning where we'd been smelling these, and
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
even know where these strips were left, I didn't see them,
Oh right.
but the whole of my downstairs smell of perfume.
Oh,
I
wow.
could smell the Navitus, or like obviously all mingling together in the air.
Yeah.
So scented pretty much all downstairs.
It's quite good.
Just from
sometimes that's a good test.
just
if
from
that
a few of those.
happens. Yeah.
So that's pretty crazy.
It's
So
amazing.
clearly strong and are clearly projected. If they can project off paper,
Yeah.
it's amazing what they're going to do
Although-
on skin.
Yeah, they do last a long time on paper. They
Mm.
do.
It's usually a good sign. Yeah, for me. Okay, so are we ready maybe to talk about some oudi ones?
Yeah, okay then.
Sure.
Yeah.
I know we didn't discuss
Ah.
Virtus. If you
Oh,
want to
let's
talk
do
about
that one too. Okay, so
Okay.
that right now, what's this one all about?
So this one is also by Bertrand Duchaufour. And the Latin quote that I've associated with this one is Veni Vidi Vici, which means I came, I saw, I conquered,
Oh, yes.
obviously. And so this one I imagine to be a very sort of, not dark or brooding, but a very strong and powerful scent. And I
Right.
thought, if a note can achieve that, it would be tobacco.
Right.
And so I went with a tobacco heavy fragrance, but there's a creamy element about this one that I really appreciate.
Right.
Because it also has fig milk, which kind of gives it a little bit of like a coconut
Oh, yeah,
smell,
I'm remembering
and
this one
mango.
from last night.
I'm remembering
it
yeah,
from
that's a
last
very
night now.
fig milk, mango, and tobacco. You wouldn't necessarily. It's not an obvious
No, I
combination,
know.
right?
Thank you.
And it's called Virtus. This one. Yeah.
Virtus, yeah.
Okay.
And there's also honey and beeswax
Yeah.
absolute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
But no bees were harmed in the making of the perfume.
That's good. That's reassuring.
Definitely
Yeah.
get
It does have real
something
beeswax.
Oh wow.
mentholated to start with. I think I might have said that last night.
Little
Yeah.
clove.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so different to the others. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a true. I would call this a really rich honey tobacco
Mhm.
kind of thing. That'll be my simplistic first reaction
Oh,
on
awesome.
this. Yeah.
This would probably be a little bit too loud for me to wear.
Okay.
It's
Mhm.
it's very strong, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very heavy.
It does smell like it would be a real.
It's
A
quite
real
sweet.
beast,
It
yeah.
feels gourmandy again. Like it feels like it's teetering gourmand.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. A lot of the other tobacco fragrances that I'm used to, like red tobacco, is quite on the aggressive side.
Yeah.
Something like tobacco vanille is a little bit more in like that pipe tobacco sort of a feel.
Mm.
And when I smelled this one, tobacco wasn't the first thing that my mind landed on.
Yeah.
You know, I am thinking about those sweeter ingredients, and perhaps the honey kind of overtakes everything else, right?
Mm.
But this isn't a honey like a thick, dark honey. If you think Killian Back to Black,
Oh,
it's
right.
nothing
And it's not
like
powdery.
that.
Yeah.
It's almost like just a honey nuance rather than it
Mm.
being full on
Yeah.
actual honey. If
Yes,
that makes
yeah.
sense.
I think that the tobacco accord that you've got in here, that I do get a reminiscence of tobacco vanille
Yeah.
kind of thing, but all kind of
It's very
other
smooth.
things.
It's extremely smooth.
Now part of me's thinking Naxos a bit too, which is very different.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I can kind of see what you mean
Yeah.
because Naxos has a brightness to it, and this
Mm.
also has a brightness to it.
mm,
Yeah.
wow, yeah, very very niche, smelling, very very rich, very opulent.
It's
I'm
nothing.
glad.
I
I'm
mean,
glad
that's
to hear that.
I couldn't compare that to anything else.
No.
So I think that's a good thing, really. So
Yeah.
it means you've got something quite unique.
Thank you.
Um,
And I've done some side-by-sides too, and it definitely stands out, you know?
Yeah.
I thought to myself, will it smell like Carlisle by Parfum de Marly? And I did a side-by-side, and it's quite different. Will it smell like Grand Soir by Maison Francis
yeah.
Kurkdjian?
No,
But
definitely not.
Even that's a little bit more on the animalic side. And so to me, this really does stand out
Yeah.
among everything else that
That
I've tried.
creamy note really starts to kick in.
Yeah.
Fig milk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily have been able to pinpoint fig milk, but there's a sweet, creamy note that's coming through. That it's kind of milky, creamy.
It does have like a
Um,
milky presence, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Great stuff.
Thank you.
Now, are there two that have some oud? Is that right?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I have two ouds at the moment.
Mhm.
Here we have Oud
This is when
Imperium.
Claire has to leave the room.
Oh,
She's
really?
I'm not-
famously
No, you like Oud
averse.
Luxuria, right?
I can't remember.
Traditionally,
That was the
Claire
rose one.
Was it?
Yeah.
You didn't used to like oud,
I
but
don't-
lately you're.
I have an aversion to quite a lot of the Western style, not Western, the ones that aimed at the East. No,
The Middle Eastern
ones
market.
aimed
Yeah.
at the West. So the like the
Oh,
synthetic oud notes that you get in more
Sure.
mainstream fragrances. There's something about them that really bothers me. So once tried a really terrible one from Marks and Spencer's. It smelled quite nice at first, and this is going back at the very beginning of my fragrance journey. So I coated myself in this rose oud from Marks and Spencer's, which was like £20 a bottle.
Okay.
And I walked around, and within about 10 minutes, I was like,
Oh,
this
I'm
is
sorry
horrible.
about that.
it's not
It
your
happens.
fault.
It's
Steve.
happened to me too, you know. So I know what that feeling is like, of course.
Oh God, I was coated in it, and I couldn't. I went and bought baby wipes, and I was scrubbing myself out in the high street, scrubbing, and I couldn't get it off. So I think that's kind of like tainted my
That bad
thoughts about
experience
oud.
is
But,
yeah.
That's understandable.
yeah, no, this smells more natural. Are you able to say if they're natural ouds?
It is.
Yeah.
It's a natural oud blend, and it also has oud from Laos.
Wow.
Yeah.
I seem to be because we tried the Bortnikov ones, didn't we, yesterday?
Yeah.
And
Those
I'm
are
okay
powerful.
with
Yes.
those
They're powerful,
ouds,
yeah.
even though I find them kind of like strange in that would I actually want to wear them, but I can
Okay.
enjoy the scent of them,
Sure.
and I can enjoy the scent of the oud in here.
And you know, like the oud connoisseurs, they love Bortnikov.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah.
And
We're beginning to appreciate the difference between what we might call your standard department store type oud accord
Yeah.
and
Sure.
some of these ones. If this has the real oud, I get
Yeah.
a bit more of that real. It's a little bit challenging, isn't it?
It does
It is.
It's a
have-
challenging
it
note.
is.
yeah.
Yes.
It does
I'm not
have
denying
that
that.
barnyard sort
Yeah.
of walk in the country.
Can we say that?
Yeah,
You
of
don't
course.
mind?
I don't mind at all.
Yeah. It does have a bit of the barnyard, don't you think?
I
this
agree.
one? Yeah.
Yeah.
It lasts about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I think more of like that apple and lily combination starts to be brought to the fore.
Yeah, I'd like to test that on skin just to see what happens, because it's really interesting, and it's not, again, it's very unique. Like the last one it's nothing like I've smelled before.
Sure.
So
Yeah, I'll say one thing for you, that it doesn't just feel like you thought, oh well, we better have an oud or two, and you just kind of dialed in a kind of standard
Generic,
department store. So
yeah.
this is definitely rather unique smelling, and it's got. Yeah, we've been trying some real oud like the Bortnikoff, and it's got that real,
yeah.
genuine, challenging oud note. That is, but we like that more, I think, than the sort of
I much
synthetic,
prefer it to
bland,
the
or
synthetic stuff.
the what's the word, cliched kind of oud smell that we smell so much. So, yeah, definitely quite daring
I like that.
actually.
So
there.
who's the
Yeah.
perfumer behind that one?
Christian Carbonell.
Oh, okay.
Again.
Because it feels very different. So the Bertrand Duchefort creations seem to have a similar woodsy accord that kind of comes through, whereas I'm not getting that from this at the moment.
Correct. Yeah, I would agree with that. Also, there's like a touch of sweetness
Yeah.
in the Bertrand creations. And I feel like with the Chris Carbonell creations, he has a tendency of making them so appealing to like a Middle Eastern market.
Yeah.
And so I knew that if I had to do an oud, given his work for like the Oud Stars collection for Xerjoff,
Right, yeah.
I said, wow, he's really capable
He's the
as
guy.
a perfumer.
Yeah. No, I think that's really nice. I like that.
Yeah, thank you. Here's the last one.
Thank
So
you.
this one is Oud Luxuria.
Right.
This one is also a touch animalic. It is spicy. There's also musk, of course, and ambergris in the base as well.
And do you use real ambergris?
I don't believe so.
No.
Not for this, no.
I find this much drier. Would that be a
Yes.
fair comment? Less sweet
Yes.
than the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has like
Very
a dusty
different.
component to it. Yeah.
Very woody.
Yeah.
As well as oud
I'm
wood,
trying
obviously.
to pick up. I can't quite pinpoint what I'm smelling. Like, it's the green.
Mm.
There's something green, but not like leaves or grass or galbanum. It's
Uh-huh.
I don't know, conifer or pine. Is it pine or?
It's not pine. I can see the green element that you're talking
fir
about.
or- yeah.
Perhaps it borrows some ingredients from oak moss.
Okay. Yeah.
And so you have a little bit of that. I know it's a rather spicy rose, so you might get a little bit of nagarmotha, kind of like a cypriol oil, giving it that spicy green effect. But it also has a lot of that pink berry sort of Turkish rose combination.
Yeah, I can
And so it's
see
a very
that,
full
yeah.
rose.
I'm getting a little bit of a sort of pencil shaving woodiness. Could just be
Okay.
me.
Yeah.
It just reminds me a tiny bit of something like Encre Noir in that kind of
Yeah,
that real
I
woody
can see
thing.
that.
This one, the oud is more subtle.
Yeah.
It's not in your face like that one was to start with, but
Correct.
it's creeping in now. Whereas the other one was oud from the get-go. This is like the oud slowly raising its head.
Okay. All right, I'll give you a little secret. So there's also a bit of cumin in this fragrance as well.
Yeah. Because we were talking off camera, we were talking about how cumin can sometimes have a body odor effect. To
And some people are put off by the idea of it.
Oh,
as soon as
sure.
they see it on a
I
note
think
listing,
that's
they
what I'm
don't
actually.
want
Now
to
you
try
say
it.
that, I think that's what it
Oh,
is.
it's really good,
I'm
this.
smelling, yeah.
So it definitely has that spicy presence. I don't think it was used strong enough that it warrants listing it in the note pyramid.
No.
Right.
But it's in there. It's
Yeah.
definitely in there.
Yeah, I mean, like, you wouldn't say it's got a cumin note. It's obviously it feels like the cumin together with what the other sort of green woodsiness is creating an accord all of its own.
Sure.
So it doesn't feel like you can just go, yep, there's definitely cumin in there. It's only once
Right.
you know it's there.
Right.
But it
absolutely.
gives it some spiciness, definitely, and dryness.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's actually making me thirsty. It's that dry.
Oh no, well we have some still and sparkling water, so I'll pour you a glass.
It might be a little bit of a hangover involved as well.
That's awesome.
Our live stream was we're up late.
That was a fun stream.
It
indeed,
was
though.
it was we enjoyed it actually. Yeah. So this is it's been our second chance to sniff these, and we're both going to give them a bit more consideration and give you hopefully a more considered
What's
review
your
soon.
favourite one?
Well, I'm just going to stick with my gut instinct that my
Navis.
instant love was the first one we tried, Navis.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's not. There's more complexity and stuff going on in some of the others that I may come to love. But if you just want something with beautiful, natural, fresh citrus that seems to last really well, I'm a sucker for citrus.
Yeah.
So Navis, yeah,
So
definitely.
I think I actually prefer the oud.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
yeah, you've converted
Yeah,
it.
even though I really love the almond one, the Bertrand Duchefort, I forgot what it, Absolute.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really love that, but I think actually the oud, I need to try it on skin to see what happens and
Yeah.
see how I cope with, because I
The
don't
first
think
of the two ouds.
yeah, I don't
which is
think
oud. Sorry, the
Oud
name is.
Luxuriant.
Oud Luxuria.
Oud
Sorry.
Luxuriant.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think I've actually worn anything with oud for
Right.
a long time.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but yeah, I'm going to try it and
You know what? And I'm not
see
the
what
biggest oud
happens.
lover myself either.
Yeah,
But there was just something about these two compositions that really spoke to me.
yeah.
And I said, you know, it's an agreeable oud in the case of Oud Imperium, but then there's also something very dark and challenging that one day of the month I might be in the mood for it. I'll
Yeah.
wear Oud
Yeah, yeah.
Luxuria, you know? I
Yeah.
don't mind.
So,
Claire's favourite then.
yeah.
Who'd
Wow.
have thought
I'm
it?
impressed.
Who'd have thought it? Oh, come
Sorry,
on.
guys.
That's
Okay.
terrible.
That's
Before
cool.
we end this, I was thinking, your channel is very, very professional and it's very much about fragrances.
Yeah.
So I feel like people might not know you as a person too well.
Right.
So I would love you to tell everyone one thing about you that they may not know or they may be surprised about. Put you on the spot
What a
here.
tough
Wow.
question.
Sorry.
It's just something like a hobby or something
Yeah,
else
have
that
you
I
got
do,
a hobby
or
or something else that you love to do, or even a weird habit?
oh my god! Aside from like sniffing myself in public.
Yeah, we all do that.
Oh my god, what is there? I used to bowl a lot.
Okay.
You know, I like bowling.
Yeah.
I was on my school's varsity team, and so that was fun. We
Oh,
won
cool.
3rd place in states. My highest score is a 279.
We don't know about
I,
bowling. Is that a good
no, it's
score? That's
It
10,
is. The
10
highest is-
bowling, yeah?
Yeah. I can solve a Rubik's Cube in like a minute.
Oh, wow, that's
Ah,
cool.
there you
yeah,
go.
yeah, that's cool.
We don't have one.
Other than that, I don't.
Did you have a nickname at school?
I'd rather not repeat some of
Okay.
that.
No, fair
No,
enough.
I didn't
Yeah,
have any.
okay.
Well, not really. I was bullied a lot, but only in grammar school.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
that's
okay.
crap.
Uh,
Yeah, well, look at you now.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. I still get bullied. Man, I don't know. I love. Okay, I'll tell you something.
God.
My toenails are painted purple right now.
No way!
Really?
Yep.
Now that's a surprise.
And I will
didn't-
show you guys off
It
camera, and
didn't
I'll prove
happen
it to you.
unless we get it on camera.
Okay, maybe we should, right?
Yeah.
I don't know
That
if you
could
want
be
to.
a fun-
we can
we
do
can edit that
We
in. We
can
can-
edit
Okay.
that in.
If
Yeah.
you-
If
Yeah,
you-
if
please.
you
Let's
don't
take a
mind.
picture
Do
of
you
it.
want to
Can you
tell us
explain
how that happens?
why?
Yeah.
So, if you have a 2-year-old daughter at home, that's how that happens.
Oh,
Yeah.
brilliant.
What's her name?
Emilia.
Emilia. Is it with an E?
It's with an E.
With an E. That's
Yeah.
cute. That's really cute.
Did
Thank
she
you.
do a neat job?
No. But you know
Guess
what?
not.
The part that went on skin, it came off after the
Oh,
first
yeah,
few days
yeah.
after you shower.
Okay.
And
Yes.
my wife goes, "You're going to be going to London. You're going to be meeting people. You know, I have some polish remover." I said, "I'm not going to
You're
take my
gonna be
shoes
getting
off,
your
but
feet out.
But you thought
Yeah.
wrong.
here we are. It's going to be on camera."
It's
We're gonna fantastic.
I love it.
Okay, I've got
brilliant.
one other quick question.
Yeah, please, of course.
Because I'm dying to know actually, just a little bit more because you've got a famous on-screen partnership with Carlos,
Oh,
the
that
Brooklyn
guy.
Fragrance
Okay, yeah.
lover, and you guys you're great together and it works perfectly. But you seem pretty different personality-wise.
Yeah, we're quite different.
So how on earth did you come to be friends? I mean, obviously you've got the hobby of fragrances, but
Yeah.
of all the people, why is it that you and Carlos? How do you get along and how does that work?
It's interesting.
Yeah.
So there was a perfume event back in 2012 at Ming, New York, and the brand was Julep Mad, and they were debuting their fragrances at Ming, New York, and I ended up meeting Carlos there for the first time. And he approached me, he said hello, and I told him I live in New Jersey, and he goes, "You know, we should probably collaborate." And at the time, I think he was just starting his channel. I had
Right.
been doing it for a few months. And I said, "Yeah, sure, let's do something." And I remember he made the trip into New Jersey, and we shot a video. I think it was either on Black Orchid or another fragrance, maybe under a moth or
Is it
something
still
like
up?
that. It is still up.
Okay,
yeah.
so we're going to find it and we're going to link it
Yep.
down
Okay.
below so we
Yeah,
can
the first,
see their first date.
That's amazing. I would love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But ever since then, yeah, we've been collaborating nonstop, and he comes to my house at least once a week.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
that's
so
lovely.
it's
You're
a nice
New
friendship.
Jersey and he's New York, right?
Yeah,
So
he's Brooklyn and
you're
I'm
not a
New
million miles
Jersey.
apart. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's about a 2-hour.
Oh,
it's-
wow.
Yeah, by
That's
train.
not as
Okay.
close. I've guessed you were like a couple of tube stops away from each other.
We've
Nope.
kind of imagined that to be closer than it really is.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
oh.
but we're willing to make the trip.
Yeah.
Him more often.
Yeah.
He understands that I
He's
have a
got-
wife and a
he's got
kid.
less-
And,
Understandably,
commitments,
yeah.
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 Oh, now we love Brooklyn fragrance. I think maybe we should sing the theme tune.
Bro.
Brooklyn fragrance lover. Brooklyn fragrance
I love that.
lover.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Let's do one more. Dun
Okay.
dun dun da 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 dun dun da da dun 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 da 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 dun dun. I
Thank
hope I'm
you.
doing it right.
Pretty good, pretty close.
I watch your channels, guys, I do.
Wow, we're honoured. Well, yeah, we both enjoyed yours, for many, many years, haven't we? And
Thank
still,
you.
I mean, apart from any new stuff, it's still a great reference point now. If I want to think, I type something in YouTube, and sure enough, likelihood is I'm wondering about fragrance from a few years back. Probably you've covered it,
Oh,
and there's
thank
a
you.
really good
I would hope
description
so.
for everybody. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. I think from all of the fragrance community.
Oh, you're welcome, of
And
course.
thank you for inviting us today.
Yes.
Oh,
It's
the
been
pleasure is all mine.
Wow.
Yeah.
massive
Thank you for
pleasure to
taking the
meet
time
you.
to do videos.
Yeah, we've really enjoyed it, and I guess it's about time to flip the camera and get the toenails
Yes.
done. Yeah,
Coming up.
The
Let's do
toenails
it.
video.
Let's
That's
do
it.
it.
Thanks a lot for joining us, guys.
Thank
and
you.
we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Oh wow. Look
So
at
it's two
that.
coats. The first
I
coat
see.
was the purple or the lavender.
Yeah.
And then the second coat was the glitter or the sprinkles, as my
Oh,
daughter likes
yeah.
to
Thank you. So
Wow.
we have Stephen from the channel Redolessence here.
call it. How's it going?
Is showing us his feet because
Something I've never done before.
we kind of managed to force him to confess
Oh.
something about himself, and he admitted that he's got purple toes.
Yeah.
And you'll see the full story on Dan's channel when it comes out. But yeah, this is something we never expected.